Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include the terrible reviews that Fallout 76 is getting, the latest in action RPG news, Blizzard sending its lawyers against the person who registered the playdiablo4.com domain, and more. As always, timestamps can be found in the video description, and be sure to have rang the sub-notification bell to be alerted of new Saturday episodes. So first off, Fallout 76, a game that no one wanted and fewer people still are happy to get. Now, I haven't played the game myself, and last week I posed the question, have you played it, and if so, what are your thoughts, and should I get it? And a lot of you have said, no, don't get it, but there were some of you that did enjoy the game, and it seems that there are people out there who are enjoying the game, but those people are certainly not the game reviewers. In Eurogamer's review, they called it a bizarre, boring, broken mess. IGN gave it a 5 out of 10. IGN gave a AAA game from a big publisher a 5 out of 10. That means something. Giant Bomb flat out refuses to even review the game because none of their reviewers want to sink any more time into it than they already have. Forbes gave it a 5 out of 10. Game Informer 6 out of 10. GameSpot 4 out of 10. PC Gamer 6 out of 10. Currently on Metacritic, it's sitting at about a 5.5 out of 10 from professional critics and a user score of about 2.9 out of 10. Is this game just misunderstood and underappreciated? Is it really a gem in the rough, or has this been a terrible misstep by Bethesda? Bethesda games are known for their modding scene, for letting the players fix the game, and in a multiplayer game with no modding presently, it seems like a lot of stuff that could have been forgiven in a single-player game that could be fixed is not being forgiven. Hell, the story came out about a group of players that launched 3 nukes in a server simultaneously, and it crashed the server. Now, personally, I think I enjoy the premise of Fallout 76. Myself and my fiancé and my friend, we play a lot of 7 Days to Die, which is an open world, sort of open world, survival, horror, crafting, building experience. And it's been in development hell for a while in alpha. We've still gotten hundreds of hours of entertainment out of it. It's buggy, it's unoptimized, but it sounds like it has a more robust feature set than Fallout 76. Now, I can't help but draw the parallel to Diablo Immortal. From both Bethesda and Blizzard, fans wanted something, and instead got something else. And at least it feels like in the case of Fallout 76 that the negative press, the negative reviews, can't just be attributed to fans being angry that this game isn't for them. But it begs the question, how beholden are developers to their fans? Are they allowed to branch out with a known IP, a beloved franchise, and try to do something different for a different audience? Because just like with Diablo Immortal, Fallout 76 was not intended for fans of the previous Fallout games, being a very different kind of experience. And I want to know your thoughts on this in general. Are you cool with a franchise being taken in a different direction? For instance, Warcraft started off as a real-time strategy franchise before they tried out an MMORPG, and it became immensely popular. But I know there's a lot of Warcraft 3 fans that are really bummed out that they're not getting Warcraft 4. Moving on to some action RPG news. In case you're unaware of it, Grim Dawn is an action RPG that is very reminiscent of Diablo 2. If you really liked Diablo 2, you probably would also really like Grim Dawn. And currently it is on sale on Steam for 65% off. Hopefully that will hold true when this video goes live. In other action RPG news, Wolcen is starting phase 2 of its technical beta. This time around, the focus is on testing multiplayer server stability. And as well, you get new enemies, new skills, new items in this beta. Now, when I really took a deep dive into covering this game roughly a year ago, I feel that the number one thing that people were commenting about was, will it have multiplayer? Multiplayer when? No buy if no multiplayer. Well, multiplayer is here now. Back then, things were in alpha, we're in beta now. But with every early access game, I always caution, buyer beware. If you're really buying into the vision of the game, if you really want to play it, sure, go ahead. But as a consumer, I think it's always more prudent to wait. That said, Wolcen also released a new video on their elemental affixes that looks pretty sick. We're talking about elemental affixes that you can apply to a weapon. And these can be randomly generated, or you can add a specific affix into a weapon via putting a gem into a socket, similar to Diablo 2. So you can stack multiple different elemental affixes, and you have fire, for instance, that has a chance to deal an area damage over time effect. So you set one dude on fire, he's taking damage over time from the fire, and anyone immediately around him is also going to take fire damage. Frost has a chance to freeze. Lightning has a chance to shock foes, and then trigger a lightning strike between shocked foes, so that's a pretty cool mechanic. Umbra, which is an element specific to the world of Wolcen. In fact, Wolcen, early on in development, was called Umbra. This elemental affix applies a slow, and this slow stacks, so repeated hits will slow further and further and further. Then we have Sacred Damage that also applies a stackable effect. This is a weakness effect, which makes the target take more damage and deal less damage. The Shadow element can inflict a curse that makes any afflictions that the enemy has spread to other enemies. Then you have just Physical, which has a chance to stun and interrupt enemies. You have Poison that adds a poison dot. You have Rend that adds a bleeding dot. And they all just look really cool. On to Path of Exile news. As is customary in the time period leading up to a new league, the devs are always posting teases and previews of what to expect. Really good at building hype. And one really cool feature that they made a blog post about is the new Atlas objectives. Now this is something for endgame mapping. Basically, in a map, you have a 33% chance of encountering a random master who will dole out an Atlas objective. And Atlas objectives also have a chance to be randomly acquired when you complete a map. Basically, Atlas objectives replace daily missions, and like daily missions, they repopulate every day. Quote, "This Atlas objective system is designed to reward both players who consistently play every day, but also players who just play a lot of Path of Exile. As a reminder, Betrayal League starts in 2 weeks, December 7th. Now, in other Path of Exile / Diablo news, months ago, a Redditor named Zine bought the domain name playdiablo4.com. He bought it as a joke because he set up that domain to redirect to the Path of Exile website. Now, during BlizzCon, after the reveal of Diablo Immortal, this site suddenly got a ton of attention somehow, and the joke went viral. Everyone had a good laugh, and then the world moved on. Or so Zane thought. A few days ago, some random person emailed him asking if he'd be willing to sell the domain for a reasonable price. Zane replied saying that he might, and the email did not seem to be from any Blizzard employee. But 3 hours later, Zane received an official notice from Blizzard's lawyers. They told him that he was committing an obvious act of cyber squatting and trademark infringement by having his domain used for the redirect. Now, for those who don't know, cybersquatting is the illegal act of registering a domain name with the bad faith intention of profiting off of a trademark that belongs to someone else. And you can profit from cybersquatting by just selling the domain to the individual who rightfully owns the trademark, or you can just generate profit to yourself and or your company because you're effectively tricking people who are looking for the proper trademarked brand. Now, the Blizzard lawyers asked him to take down this redirect, and then they tried to get him to transfer ownership of it to Blizzard. So Zine took down the redirect to the Path of Exile website, and then he changed the domain to instead redirect to a Google search for the word phone. He refused, however, to simply give up the domain to Blizzard since, well, he paid for it. He did, however, tell the lawyers that if Blizzard planned on actively using the domain, he would happily give it to them for free. And the lawyers said they'd get back to him about that. Now, Zine clarified that his interactions with the lawyers have been calm. He didn't feel bullied. He says that the lawyers said that Blizzard actually found the joke funny, and he feels that the bigger issue really behind all this was that the domain redirected to Path of Exile, which is a competitor. And since it's a competitor, it's serving a commercial purpose. That is, redirecting interest and thus potential sales from Diablo to Path of Exile. So, given now it just redirects to a pure joke, everything should be fine. But then Zine posted about the issue in the legal advice subreddit to find out if he could get sued for this. And the general sentiment from those who replied is yes. Yes, he can get sued. Not that he definitely will, it's up to Blizzard whether they do it or not, but that Blizzard would have legal grounds to sue him, particularly because he replied, "I might," when asked if he would sell the domain, i.e. profit, i.e. commercial use. Now, hopefully everything works out for him. Clearly, this was just a joke. He seems well-intentioned, and further, the amount of bad press that Blizzard would get for pursuing legal action against this guy, this person who is just being cooperative now, who was clearly just memeing, Blizzard really doesn't need that negative press right now. And speaking of Blizzard, let's talk about Diablo news. So we already covered the big Diablo news in 2 other videos this week. First off, the PTR for patch 264 in Season 16 went live this week. We're seeing the biggest season theme yet, and a lot of balance changes. I encourage you to check out that video here. And the other bigger news was the biggest leak of Diablo 4 yet. Allegedly, multiple current and former Blizzard employees came forth to leak a bunch of information to Jason Schreier, in which we learn about the current Diablo 4 that is in the works and that has been in the works since 2016, the cancelled Diablo 4 that was cancelled in 2016, the cancelled Diablo 3 second expansion, and the fact that the current Diablo 4, it was believed in January that there could be a demo ready in time for BlizzCon 2018. But I encourage you to check out that video if you haven't, because we'll finish this off by briefly going over job postings for Diablo. Now, nothing has changed in the Diablo-specific job postings, but a job posting has come up for Diablo Immortal, now suggesting that any Diablo Immortal-specific job postings will be in their own category, and the position is for Senior Quest Designer. So now this puts all those intern positions into a different context. Under the Diablo section, there's a whole bunch of intern positions. Could it be that they're turning Diablo 3 over to the interns while they focus their principal developers on Diablo 4? Under the unannounced project section, we've seen a new posting come up for Senior Systems Designer, and one posting went down for Audio Producer. And that's gonna wrap up this week's video. If you have an idea for a story you'd like to see me cover in a future episode, feel free to post it on the subreddit. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider becoming a Royal Raider on Patreon, where your support is immensely appreciated. We've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more gaming content.